for my message this morning comes from the Gospel of John, from the 13th chapter, beginning with the 31st verse and going through the 7th verse of the 14th chapter. Now, beginning with the 31st verse of the 13th chapter of the Gospel according to John, hearken unto the reading of the word of the Lord. So when he had gone out, Jesus said, Now the Son of Man is glorified, and God is glorified in him. If God is glorified in him, God will also glorify him in himself, and glorify him immediately. Little children, I shall not be with you a little longer. You will seek me, and as I have said to the Jews, where I am going, you cannot come. So now I say to you, a new commandment I give to you, that you love one another as I have loved you, that you also love one another. By this all will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. Simon Peter said to him, Lord, where are you going? And Jesus answered, Where I am going you cannot follow me now, but you will follow me afterwards. Peter said to him, Lord, why can I not follow you now? I will lay down my life for your sake. And Jesus answered him, You will lay down your life for my sake? Most assuredly I say to you, the rooster shall not crow till you have denied me 3 times. Let not your hearts be troubled. You believe in God. Believe also in me. In my Father's house there are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, there you may be also. And where I am going you know, and the way you know. Thomas said to him, Lord, we do not know where you are going, and how can we know the way? And Jesus said to him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you had known me, you would have known my Father also. And from now on, you know him and have seen him. The word of the Lord for the people of the Lord. May he add blessing and understanding to the reading of his words. Christ is preparing his disciples for his crucifixion. And in these words, though, we find one of the most important commandments that we have. One of the few commandments that Christ directly gave and said, this is a new commandment. We have heard and have read and have studied for a long time Christ saying about the 2 greatest commandments are love the Lord and love your neighbor as yourself. But finally, at this point, just before he leaves, Christ decided he needed to take that a step further. He needed to clarify something because guess what? There's an awful lot of people out there in the world that don't like themselves very well, do they? And so if we use ourselves as our yardstick, if we use ourselves as our measure of how we should treat each other, we may not treat each other real well sometimes, may we? Or maybe we may downright ugly to them. So Christ changed it. He said, don't use yourself as the yardstick. Don't measure how you treat others by yourself, but how I treated you. As I loved you, you love each other. Wouldn't it be nice if we did that all the time? One of the great fallacies of our religion is that we behave like Christ. God forbid. All you have to do is pick up a newspaper, which is rare for most people anymore, or look at the evening news to see how people treat each other. It has gotten so out of hand that it's unbelievable. And even how we treat each other at times within the church. That's the one thing about annual conference I don't particularly like. That you see the way certain people actually behave toward each other that are supposed to be the examples. Folks, if we are to ever have a hope of changing the world, guess where we have to start? Right here. Christ said, people will know you're my disciples. How? By what you tell them? No. By how you treat each other. Sad reality is I have seen times in churches to where somebody that's fairly new in church, particularly fairly new Christians, will make the mistake of coming to a board meeting. Had one couple that called me the night after, the same night of the board meeting, says, sorry, but we won't be back. Got that bad board meeting. And that's not the only time. I imagine some of you can think of one or two times that something like this has happened. This has split more churches and destroyed more people than Satan could ever hope to. And it's because of what? Our very actions. The next time you start to say something to somebody in anger, or just out of a snide concept, stop. And ask yourself if what you're doing fits with this. A new commandment. Christ could have said the last commandment I'm going to give you. The one I want you to really remember is to love each other as I have loved you. This comes just before he does what? Just before he tells Peter he's going to deny him 3 times. And yet he's already forgiven him for what he knows he's going to do. Peter doesn't understand it until after it happens. What did he do afterwards? The minute he heard that cock crow, what happened? Suddenly he remembered Christ saying, it says he went away and wept bitterly.